One. Alright, there we are. Yo, 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 what up, what up? What is poppin', immortal jellyfish? It's your boy, Vinegareel0423, aka Frobbles, aka Mr. Everything Man, aka Turbo Professor Joshua 9000 here, back at it again, broadcasting to you live from my home studio, back with another fan-turbo-tastic episode of Vicinity of Infinity podcast, the world's greatest podcast ever conceived of all time in the history of existence. I'm here with our highly esteemed guest who we'll get to in just a moment, but before you introduce yourself or so much as say a single word, you have to answer a question here that we just blast every guest with straight out the gate every episode.
Yeah, man.
Do you personally believe that Vinegareel 2256 was responsible for the shelling of the WCYF in 1891, or do you think Vinegareel 8219 used his signature mind-controlling Szechuan sauce to disarm the ionic cell oxidators implanted in the subdermal nanobotic quantum molecular multiplasma array defraculator, thereby triggering a surge of toxically acyclic radiation from Vinegareel 9576's self-calibrating electronic nuclear resonance device, effectively obliterating both Professor Clemens and Chemistry Steve's laboratories?
The second one.
That's an either or question. Not only that, but you also agree with my comment section too, so you won't be vigorously attacked there.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, with that out of the way, now that you've passed the test to continue, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers?
What's up, guys? I'm CG Kid. I love you. I love you all.
That's
me whisper
really
into your ear.
Yeah. What does the CG stand for again? Is it computer generated or community guidelines or
Crazy Ginger?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Crazy
Crazy Ginger. Well, it's hard coming up with a rap name. I mean, I had to come up with a rap name, and anytime you have to, it's like I thought of Jew-Pak because I'm Jewish. I thought of Jew Chains, but everybody was like, you're going to get hit with anti-Semitism. And then I was like, well, I'll be Nexus. And that sounded lame, like Matrix. And then I was like, I'll be CGK. And then I thought, that sounds like MGK. And I told one of my friends, and they were like, just go by. I told them what it stood for, and they were like, just be CG Kid. That's how it all started. That's how I got my name.
So how old were you when you came up with that?
23. I started getting into making online content. I was mainly making rap and prank videos back then, but at 23, I started becoming more of an artist.
Is any of that still around? Like, is any of that still viewable anywhere?
Yeah. A CG Kid on SoundCloud or some of the music. I don't put much out on YouTube because people are vicious there, but
I know. What about like the prank videos and stuff? Is any of that still around?
Facebook gave me community guideline strikes for some of them, so I ended up taking them down so that I wouldn't get banned.
That's banned? No, Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is CG Kid, everybody. I've been a long time fan of this guy. I'm honestly surprised that he agreed to be on my podcast, without knowing anything about it, much less, at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, I guess it's only 1 a.m. for you, but still, late night, cool.
Yeah.
It's mostly the people we have on here are mostly just random people off the street, like that I meet on like the internet and stuff. So it's like people with like maybe like 4 subscribers or like 10 max. So it's refreshing for the eyes to see like an actual recognizable. This dude's actually got a following.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it, but somehow it happened. People like transparency, and like a lot of drug education as a motive. I always tell people that it's so important that the second you have a motive creating content, transparency goes out the window. If your motive is to prevent drug use, well, you're not going to come across as transparent because you're going to have that motive in mind. So you're going to lean towards negative experiences and not tell people the whole. Like with drug education, it's so important to not have a motive. If your motive is to get people sober, you're going to be like selling recovery and you aren't going to really share. Like, I don't really have a motive. I like transparent. My motive, if I had one, it would be transparency, but transparency is lack of a motive. So my motive is to have no motives. And somehow that causes things to grow in YouTube when someone has a motive of growing their audience versus them just like literally like, I'm gonna make something ridiculous. You know what I mean? That nobody will like. Who gives a shit? Then it blows up.
Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping would happen with my channel, because I'm not sure if you ever like saw it or not, but I got some really like out there stuff. I do like alternative comedy and like alternative entertainment and stuff like that, and like there's some really weird stuff on there, but it hasn't taken off yet.
No,
But
I believe in you, man. You got this.
But yeah, you know, it's a bold thing what you're doing there. Is it's like, you know, some of the content may come across to some people as like preachy or something, but I don't see it that way. I think you know, you're pretty like level-headed about your stuff, and like, you know, come in at like you know, more than an authority figure or something like that. I think it's very down to earth. It's a unique perspective.
Yeah, I mean it's cool because I grow with it's such a relationship on YouTube with your audience, and that having that relationship has been such a rewarding experience, and I feel like I grow with them because I'm a lot more mature than I used to be. And what I mean by maturity is, you know, there was a point where YouTube almost banned me. I got fully demonetized, and I started changing the narrative. So I had a motive to survive. But then, you know, I got to a point where YouTube was telling me I was responsible for other people's behaviors, and I felt responsible for them. And that's a very egotistical way to feel. And it kind of started hindering my content because it's like now you have to say things in a way. Yeah, your motive is to be transparent, but you kind of have to say things in a way where you have to worry about somebody taking your video, watching it, and doing something stupid. You get what I'm trying to say? I
Yeah,
lost transparency, and I
like
had to
you're responsible.
that was my immaturity, and I had to grow out of that. And now it had to get to a point where I'm like, I'm not responsible for other people. My responsibility is to be transparent and honest. And then when I finally broke out of that, I felt so free, you know? Like I felt so much more happy. I went through extreme depression over that, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
Of
because
being,
it's like, I mean,
yeah.
that's like an obligation, like with all content creators, you know, you always worry about that. Like if I make like a joke or something that comes across the wrong way and like someone takes it literally or does whatever and like
Yeah.
takes what I'm saying, advice or something, and then like does something terrible or whatever, then it's like I'm partially to blame for that. Because like, oh, well, you know, Mr. Everything Man said it was okay. It's like, no, that's not what I meant. And like, and then it's like, oh, what do I do now? Do I just delete the whole channel and give up on everything, or am I just like, well, you know, there are just some people in the world that are gonna do that, and you know, you just whatever, man.
Yeah, you can't be responsible. It's too egotistical to be responsible for other people's behaviors. It's like saying
It's
I'm too
I
in.
can't be responsible for other people's mental health, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I hadn't caused them to take that action, something else would have, you know. And like at the end of the day, I'm not that powerful to make somebody do
Yeah.
something, you know. But like I like sharing this with you because this is that's like what my channel is this it's a relationship, and I feel like it's a mutual one. I don't have to make any money doing what I do. I didn't monetize till I had 100K subs. So I got demonetized the last time. I got sad about it, and now it's like, dude, I just enjoy making videos with you guys. Like I could get paid nothing and do this. You get what I'm trying to say?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love that. And a matter of fact, if YouTube demonetized me today, I'd be like, hell yeah. I would just come out of a video and say every cuss word known to man and say, well, I've been holding that in for a while. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I want to let you know the Free Speech podcast. You can say whatever. That's fine. I don't care, man. Um, but uh, but yeah. So I was gonna ask something. I forget what it is now. But
Ask
yeah,
away
you know,
anything.
yeah.
Two
The whole point of
inches.
this
We'll get
podcast is we just get like different people on here and just have fun. It's improv comedy, so you know, we just see where it goes. I do have some questions that I ask, so let's see what's one that we can have to like loosen things up. Well, here's one I don't usually ask at the beginning, but we'll do it anyway. What are your thoughts on 4D pants?
4D pants.
Yeah, like fourth dimensional pants.
I love them. I don't know what they are, but they sound cool. Is that like what happens when you take LSD?
Well,
Because I've experienced that.
well, 4D pants, you know, it's like You turn them inside out to put them on, essentially. Like, you get what I'm saying with that?
Why would anyone do that to themselves? Why would it...
You're not turning yourself inside out. It's the pants. You know what I mean?
That would
It's like
trip me out. I feel like
you're saying.
the universe would stop if I put those on, and I would be like, I would have a nervous breakdown.
What if the universe is already stopped though, and that's what'll make it move again?
Dude, you're blowing my mind right now.
What if the universe has been stopped all your life, so you just didn't know it because you didn't have a frame of reference?
You're blowing my mind right now.
Oh, did I mention it's also a quantum
You are
physics
what you
podcast?
eat, man, and you know what you are? A mushroom. You are what you eat, and you're tripping me out like a mushroom.
Oh, but I just got that. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's like that Afroman song, Because I Got High, you know? It's like
Yeah,
everything.
oh, yeah, I love that song.
But all right, so 40 pants, what's your conclusion? Like, can you explain to the audience your thought on 40 pants?
I don't know, man. That's like a hard question. It's like the hardest question I've ever been asked in my life. I think I would need to
Oh, wow.
contemplate it for at least a couple years.
A couple of years, all right.
Like that's like astronomical. That's like
All
it's
right.
like a new form of gravity just knowing that question. It's like weighing on my mind.
Interesting. Well,
What do
well,
you
let's
think
let's
about 40 pants?
what is this now? The Ask Mr. Everything Man questions podcast now or something?
Oh God, I'm turning the tables, man.
Oh,
I'm
what do
turning the
I think? And I think it would make for a great video game. That's actually how it got pitched to me. I didn't even come up with the concept. It was a friend of the family. Uh, so shall we say, not exactly sober at the time of coming up with it. He had a list of ideas for video games because he was an aspiring video game designer. He wanted so desperately to get hired by Nintendo. He never did, but he really wanted to be hired by Nintendo to brainstorm game ideas, basically be their Imagineer. And he had a whole post-it note, like a whole wall full of post-it notes with video game ideas, and they all had like elaborate descriptions and like paragraph longs, like everything that they're going to be doing. One of them called Starcade, and it was like this whole thing, whatever. And but there was one that was kind of off by itself and didn't have any description at all. And it was all that was written on the post-it note was 4D pants, and then in parentheses, them inside out to put them on. That's it. So it must
damn.
have been the end of the
I would
night.
invest.
So that
I think people would wear them just to rebel for like a year or maybe a month or maybe just once.
yeah, everybody has their 40 pants phase, you know?
Yeah, you question the system. Every
Yeah,
day, every time I go to Walmart, I question the system. Like, why, just because we have pants doesn't mean that we should wear them. It doesn't really make any logical sense sometimes.
yeah. Like pretty
I mean,
soon
they make sense sometimes when you need pockets, but then you could just get like one of those, like ever since Corona hit and we're in quarantine, I'm like, why do people wear pants? And I
well,
think there's going to be a really big problem with integration because you have all these people that haven't wore pants in like 2 months. And now they're gonna have to go back into society of pants. I dream of the day where we question the system, where we're
you
like,
know, question the pants and who wears the pants, because that's the
yes,
real question. Who's wearing the pants, and
yes,
because
are
now
the
this
pants wearing us?
right? That's what I mean. Like, you don't know what goes on. You put it in the washing machine and you walk away. You don't know what happens. You ever watch Toy Story? I've been paranoid ever since that. Uh, I mean, but yeah, I mean, pants. It's like if you take the pants off, you're no longer in control of anything. Everybody just sees, the ocean inside your underwear then, and like just everything. It's like it's all, I mean, like the pants are. It's like a metaphor for existence when you think about it.
Everything is, man. Like
Yeah, because
everything is.
yeah.
Like, is silence a
I think
sound?
it'd be cool, like, yeah, what's the difference between the silence sound and the sound of silence, though?
Exactly. This is where you get to this mind-boggling thing, and I'm sorry, but only psychedelics can answer it. But then whenever you learn the answer, you're like, well, shit, now I'm not tripping. So I forgot what the answer to my question was.
Well, let me ask you
Or you
something.
integrate it. It's like one of the two.
Well, let me ask you something then. Would you take LSD or shrooms or something like that? Like, would you consider that? I know you made an Instagram video on this a little while ago, but it seemed kind of like unclear to me, like where all that is, because it's like,
Well, like you know, like the way I like my recovery is so different this time around. Relapse is misery. That's like it's not even has nothing to do with the drugs. The drugs are literally just a way that I've self-destructed. So like it's really confusing because what I consider a relapse is a state of mind. It's where I'm choosing to not be on this not play life but try to live in the future or the past or control things outside of myself, and it's just this really miserable state. And honestly, it's society's normal. So I consider like just like what I consider addiction is so different than what it used to be that it has almost nothing to do with the behavior. It's something so much deeper than that for me. So it's like I've had people say that psychedelics are a relapse, but the relapse, I wasn't depressed when I took them and I wasn't depressed afterwards. It wasn't an escape from something. So it all depends on it depends on every there's no like absolute for this is bad, this is good, this is how your recovery should look. It's really just being honest with myself. And whenever people saw it as a relapse, I was really shocked. I was like, I don't see that as a relapse. Yeah, and that's personal to me, but if they did, I would respect them. Say, okay, you smoke
well,
weed in
because
recovery
some
and
people,
you
there's some,
consider yourself living a clean, better life. I'm not there to say you do that, you're bad. Because I think some people are sober for the sake of being sober. And what they do is they turn abstinence into a religion where it's like, we'll be abstinent until it hurts. And honestly, it's great, and for some people, they need that. And that's their recovery. I don't judge it. Where it becomes dangerous is when that fuels an ego to judge other people. To say
right,
that,
yeah,
like, I am
sure.
so good at abstaining, that you aren't as great as me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's a thing that's different for everyone, so it's not fair to hold other people, like to judge people by the same set of circumstances because it's not going to apply to everyone,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
might be easy for someone to just down something right away and be like, oh, see, I'm fine, but that's not, good for you, but the person next to you, is going to suffer for years, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
Sobriety
yes,
and recovery is a fun thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's sold as something it's not. And I think that's like a lot of why people are turned off to it. It's sold as this kind of like a strict adherence to abstinence.
yeah, it gets a bad rep, just like so many things I'm into, like I'm a vegetarian, but I don't really talk about that a lot because like vegans and vegetarians and everything have such a negative connotation, that it's just like, oh, you must just be like soy boy, whiny baby, whatever, like you don't like this or that. It's like you don't know the reasons, like for everything. It's like, it's like I can't even like watch like Rick and Morty or something without feeling guilty about it, or listen to like 3 Days Grace or something like without it being like, oh, like being judged and try to be placed on a boat like, oh, you must be like emo or something. No, I'm not. I'm very against all that, or like, oh, you must like, memes or this or that. No, like you must like anime or this. No, I mean, stop trying to guess what I like. I can tell you, it's not. People have such narrow definitions of things, like you're either this or you're that, and it's like
Yeah, yeah.
same with politics, it's like you're either on this side or you're that. It's like, well, no, there's so many like little notches. Like, I could spend the whole night just talking about my political stuff, but I certainly that's probably the number one easiest way to make enemies on the internet. But
Yeah.
it's just narrow-mindedness in general.
It's that narrow-minded you talked about. I talked to a good friend who explained to me how time is ever expansive, and it's like you can fathom like the reality of the universe and us being here and what we are, who we are. But she was talking about this video that said you focus on one narrow thing, like you focus really in. I call it I call it the game, and I think that's a game that I got lost in. And the game is to avoid the truth. And the truth is that people are very beautiful for what they are. And it doesn't matter what they do. Just like the fact, dude, I was telling somebody, like, when I meditate, I am a sperm cell and an egg. And I'm like thinking about how that all multiplied into this being that has a multicellular organism that has consciousness and thought and DNA and all these little cells working together and a heart that's beating. And this is all us. Like, we are the divine and we're experiencing it. And I see other people that way. Like, I think that we get caught up in the game in the narrow way of looking at things because the big picture's kind of scary. But when you choose to look at it, it's the most beautiful light. But I don't know why it's so scary. But like what psychedelics did for me was they helped me look that way and say, like, even though I'm scared of this, I'm going to look at it because psychedelics kind of put it in your face.
That's what you got to do. Yeah. And that's with something like or DMT, will do for people with astral projection, is you will see, these other beings that, could possibly be your past life, future life, simultaneous alternate life, whatever, but like something to do with you that are spiritually significant to you. And you have to determine, are they good or evil? Are they heroes or villains? Are they friends or foes? Like, am I with them or against them? How am I going to react to them? How do I think they're reacting to me? What do I think they really think about me? It's this whole complicated process, but it's really something otherworldly. Going back to narrow-mindedness, like it really frustrates me when people like group psychedelics in with like hard drugs and stuff like that and just say like, those are just, stoner losers, whatever. Is like, no. For me, psychedelics, I view psychedelics as probably one of the, if not the most educational experiences anybody can have. I mean, don't use them recklessly. They're not party drugs, you're not there like just to have fun. Like, oh, whoa, dude, look at all the trippy colors, man. Oh, the walls are alive. This is crazy, man. Like, no, it's not what it's meant for, in my opinion. It's much more spiritual significance, kind of like how, like ayahuasca, for example, like the uses of that throughout history and all that, like I think there's a lot more. I think there's a huge tie between psychedelics and spirituality for sure. That
Yeah,
you don't get.
yeah.
I don't.
It's like it gets really down and like the psychedelics break through all the noise and get you to the real fundamental question of things. Yeah, like, it frustrates me. Yeah, when people group drugs together, is that what frustrates me? It's not the intellectualization, it's the ego. And the problem with the ego is it's forcing that idea upon other people as the one and only truth. And like, in the end of the day, the people that have that much of an ego have a lot of pain, and I'm free from that ego. And it really is, it's weird when you do psychedelics enough and you're integrating it in the real world. People try to get under your skin and they just can't. And then they get really mad. They get like you start seeing the world in a different way where you realize people are, and not everybody, but like society has normalized controlling behaviors. And it's like now it's not normal anymore. And you're looking at it from another angle. Like when you're on psychedelics and reliving your memories, you're looking from another perception that is objective to the situation. And you see that the person who's forcing this idea on someone else, calling them a druggie or a junkie or this, that, and the other, that person is hurting. And I choose whether or not to allow that to hurt me. And it all has to do with self-love. And what I've learned is love, especially self-love, is not an ability. It's something we all have, and it's obstructed. It's much more like a peeling off the onion.
Us to bring it to the surface.
Yeah, it's buried, but we all have it.
Self.
Yeah, we all have self-love, and it gets really buried.
I had a hunch that you were like at least somewhat spiritual, but I had no idea that you were this much like in tune with the different like dimensions and stuff like that. I mean, you mentioned meditation. That was going to be one of my questions actually, is if you meditated and like what the process was there. But like everybody I know that meditates, myself included, has a completely different approach to it, a completely different technique. Like it's not a universal thing. So if you don't mind me asking, like what does meditation entail for you?
Well, meditation, a lot of stuff that is in Eastern religion and philosophy and stuff. It don't really translate over to Western very well. And meditation is one of those. It's such a broad thing. It really is connecting. You know, if we believe that we're beings of body, mind, and we have soul or consciousness, then it's identifying the consciousness part of you. And it's building a relationship with that. And that's what meditation is. A lot of people do this by stop thinking. That's like a great exercise. But like for me, where I really started getting progress was observing my thoughts so that I wasn't my mind. And I was able to observe it objectively. And the more, when you listen to your thoughts, it's like you're not the voice in your head, you're the one that hears it. And then you're like, well, if I'm the one that hears it, then I don't have to feed into the voice in my head. I could watch it like I watch clouds in the sky. I don't need to change it or fix it. Nothing's wrong about it. It's a biological process to keep me alive, and so that I could keep on experiencing biology. And that's observing my thoughts throughout the day and grounding myself whenever I'm getting lost in thought is what meditation is. And it's a constant thing. It's a lifestyle. It's not a practice. It's choosing now that instead of deriving happiness from my environment, I'm going to realize I am not my environment and find, because there's this concept of awareness. Like, I'm aware you won the lottery right now. You won $1 million, right? But you don't know about it. You
How
don't
would
know
you guess
about it.
that?
Well,
Yeah,
just say
I didn't.
hypothetically put you in a situation where right now, behind the scenes, you didn't know about it, but you won $1 million. The second you become aware of winning the $1 million, you become happy. Now, why do you become happy? It's not because the $1 million altered the chemistry of your brain like drugs do. It didn't raise dopamine. Your awareness did. So your awareness is like someone said to me earlier that I resonated with is perception is a superpower. And it is. And you learn like when you get sober in
Yeah.
recovery. Yeah, when you get there's two ways to raise dopamine. One is drugs, and one is what happens when meditation
Well,
is
and
this lifestyle where you
exercise.
place awareness in life itself. So you say it's not so dependent on my outside world because you realize if you're aware that you won $1 million, so you're happy. But didn't we all win the celestial lottery the day we were born? What are the odds of being human and on this earth? I mean, yeah, sure, we think it's like highly likely because we're in a very, it's like an ant that's on the tip of a salt shaker. It thinks that that's the whole world. But really, if you look at the universe in infinite space and you really take it in, the odds of us being born on this rock are one out of infinity. So that they say in math that that's an undefined number. In other words, what it would be technically, mathematically, is impossible. So when you place your awareness within on that, that's meditation. That's where you choose not to buy into the world system that you need this to love yourself, or you need to get this kind of degree and get this promotion and marry this kind of woman. You realize that all that is like literally like icing on the cake, but the cake is you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I really get into this stuff because it's so important to me.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. I had two questions. I'm trying to remember what they were. Oh man. Oh yeah. Well, it's like, yeah. For me, it's not really about stopping thoughts because that's an unnatural thing. You can never truly just have static in the brain or white noise. It doesn't really work that way. At least not for me. It's just about changing thoughts and the way we change how we think about, like you said about observing our own mind and stuff like that. It's like I think, what meditation really is just getting everything in tune. It's allowing all the different frequencies that comprise our, spirit, and like all the different, like like opening that portal, from the physical realm to the spiritual realm, and like letting them communicate, kind of like in
Yeah,
dreams and in sleep and in astral projection and all that. Like I think it's a healthy thing to do, and it depends on the type of meditation, because there's the more like psychedelic kind of meditation that's more active and all that, but then like the daily meditation that that you should do, like when you wake up and when you go to bed, like at least for me, is a more passive meditation. It's just like, you know yeah, you just like drift into a natural state of neutrality, into a
absolutely.
state where in that moment you don't have an opinion on anything. You don't have a bias, you don't have a prejudice, you don't have a you don't you you know there's you don't have any preferences. You just kind of are. you know, and
Yeah.
it feels like yeah, sometimes like during meditation, like I'll even forget that I even have a body or anything because I'm just not thinking about that. That's not what I'm aware of. My
It's a detachment thing. It really is.
yeah, my thoughts lose their physical relevance, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, they become they just become like these floating particles that I'm just kind of like watching, but I'm not really like analyzing them carefully. And
Yeah.
it's just kind of like show that's going on in the back. And it's really weird, man, but I think it's pretty similar to what you're describing. So that's
It's
cool.
really a lifestyle, and like these monks, it's really interesting because they like do MRIs of their brain, and like their default mode network doesn't react to stress like normal people. It doesn't react at all, so they're always at peace. They never are. They're if they're frustrated or upset, it's not because of their environment. Like they have a very big. I think monks are the most interesting thing because it's like you look at their brains and you're like, well, they obviously found the secret to being happy. They've literally changed the way
Yeah,
their brain works to where we can't even see that they're not happy, like they're in peace always. And I think that they meditate, and but they see it as a lifestyle. They see it as a choice,
right. Yeah.
you know, and it is a choice, like because you choose to be distracted or to see the divinity in life itself. Like I say, like Big Bang Theory or God, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like hypothetically, if it was the Big Bang Theory that created us, we're all still pretty divine creations. You look in the universe and you see a star and it's bright with color, but you see it, your consciousness. In a way, we're all like a light in the universe, a different kind of light, and that's beautiful. And when you really start seeing that about yourself and others, you start realizing that you like self love is there's all these voices that would keep you from seeing the truth about yourself, which everybody who is listening to this, every human out there deserves to be loved, you know, for what they are, because they
Whatever
are
that
divine.
means to them. And whatever they don't even realize it means to them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people think they know what love is to them, but they don't really, or whatever new type. But and it all starts with self-love. That's the most important type of love, you know, most
Yeah, and
powerful.
I've learned how to meditation is my recovery. So that's like, you know, you get high
Yeah.
on drugs, and that's one way to be happy. The other way is to make awareness work for you by picking an optimal view of reality. And I think that's so important because, you
Yeah.
know, at the end of the day, it's like everything is, we don't really know anything. And so you kind of run on faith. Like we don't really have any of the answers. Everything is on faith. Like we can answer the small questions like how are cells made, what do cells do, but we can't answer the why they do what they do. And in those moments you choose to have faith. Like my heartbeat is beating now. What is telling it to beat? And I could say it's physiological noise. If that's optimal for me and to everybody, like to each their own, like but it's
Yeah.
really choosing what's optimal. And for me, what's optimal is saying this is divine. Holy crap. Like life becomes like a DMT trip at some point. And
Yeah.
I don't know. They say like perma tripping or whatever. If I'm perma tripping, I don't really see it as a bad thing. You know, like I've been
Yeah.
like it's
Sure.
like I permanently will see the world in a more beautiful way.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm just super high like every time I meditate basically and for like 10 minutes afterwards, you know. It's
Yeah.
great. You don't have to ingest anything. It's all, you know, it's all natural. Because DMT, there's DMT inside all of us. I'm not sure how much research you've done into all this, but there's DMT stored inside all of us and in our pineal glands and everything, which brings me to my next thing, which is dreams. Because
Dreams are
the
trippy.
pineal gland balances levels of melatonin and serotonin, which is the circadian rhythm, which is sleep, and that's also that same part of the brain that releases DMT, which is the chemical that gets released when we die, which is why people, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel and all that stuff, the like the light flashing before your eyes and everything. So I'm of the belief that DMT secretes out in small portions during sleep and is what is responsible for dreams, or at least partially responsible. Or maybe I don't have all the definitive answers here. Maybe it is like the brain just sorting through files and stuff like that. But it's the every once in a while DMT will secrete, and those are the spiritually significant dreams, or something
Yeah.
like that. But I something's up with dreams. It's basically my thesis statement here. I don't know
Yeah.
what exactly. I have a long mission, but I think there's more than meets the eye to dreaming.
Yeah, I mean, well, my lesson from dreaming has really been from lucid dreaming. It's when you're in a dream and you realize you're dreaming, and then you like control the dream, and then it becomes
Inception.
like whatever you want it to be. You know, you can control the dream, so you can imagine like a bunch of hot females, and like you're in like a pimp house, and
It's
but
the
I really think
go-to.
what dream, yeah, what I've integrated from dreams, the experience of dreams in my life is that you can become lucid in life. You know, I feel like life is almost a dream state, and we can become aware that we're dreaming. Because in dreams, you never ask what the narrative is. You don't really like sit there. The second you ask what's going on is when you become lucid, and now you're in paradise. You can control the dream, and I feel like we go through life that way. And when we ask what's going on
Awareness.
with life, you become lucid, and you start waking up, and you're like, well. I can't control the external environment, but you start to understand how you can control your own perception of it.
Yeah, there's different levels of awake, and to the average layman, being awake just means not being in a state of sleep. It means physically awake. Your body is physically awake. It's not on autopilot. Like there's stuff going on. There's no melatonin in your system. Basically, that's the layman's term for awake. But that's physically awake. We're not really as much, just people in general. Like what is spiritually awake. That's something that, people have more of a concept with. But yeah, it's like something I wanted to say earlier, which is if I ask you what's 2 plus 2, you'll say 4. Well, why? How can you explain to me how 2 plus 2 equals 4? Well, that's a man-made principle because the numbers 2 and the number 4 didn't exist before humans. Humans created those numbers,
Mhm.
So it's like I'm not sure if you putting together what I'm saying here, but it's all just an elaborate. So yeah, we don't. This is a comedy podcast for the most part, so we don't usually spend too much time on serious
Well,
things. But
it really
last
ties into your first question because you asked me, and it's an important
before we
question.
end,
Do you consider psychedelics a relapse? And it all ties back to that because the second I start like getting lost in the game of
yeah,
life and thinking my security relies on how much money I make or all these, and I'm not loved, then I lose self-love. That's the relapse. It's not the taking of any drug, you know?
right. Well,
Yeah.
to me, dopamine, because you mentioned dopamine. Dopamine, in the way I see it, gets released through one thing and one thing only, and that is exercise. Now, there's physical exercise, which does release large amounts of dopamine, strength training, cardio, all that stuff. And then there's mental exercise, which also releases dopamine. And drug use is one of the most prevalent forms. Drug use, obviously, including alcohol, nicotine, sugar, caffeine, all that stuff. Drug use, or psychoactives, as I, call them, is one of the most prevalent forms of mental exercise. And so is dreaming, and so is meditation, and so is a puzzle, doing a crossword or a Sudoku or something like that. You know, any mental stimulation, mental exercise. You get dopamine like if you beat a hard video game, because that's like a psychological thing, like you can get dopamine from watching a movie, like it really, it depends. It's the thing that dopamine's like the chemical, like when your brain. It's hard to describe it. It's like when your brain is like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, I think you know what I mean, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Life's a trip, man.
yeah, for
We
sure. Because
eat,
the
we
brain,
eat, we shit, we bang.
yeah,
Like
that's really all there is to it.
it's
So yeah,
weird,
now
man.
one last thing before we move on here. So the big 420 is upon us, and I guess that's why it's on my mind. But if recreational weed was legal where you are, would you partake in that, or would you consider that going too far? Is that not no longer sobriety?
It's not for me because I know myself. I know I react to every substance, and that one's just negative. You know, I have a negative. It's like I'm allergic to. If I'm allergic to eggs, I would never see eating them as a good idea. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's a self-destruction thing, and I just
So
understand.
that's something that you can get like a mental dependency on, essentially. Then.
Yeah, it's self-harm to an extent when you, and that's the thing, like every relationship with every substance, it's really knowing yourself and knowing how you react. And I think fasting is a good practice. I don't promote abstinence or anything, but I think taking a break from anything I do regularly is a good practice, whether it's Netflix
Oh,
or whatever. And really just saying, okay, this is what I was like with it in my life. This is what I'm like without it. And if what I'm like without it is better, then maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Or maybe I should try to control it. It's experimentation. So maybe you say, oh, I'll just watch Netflix on Saturday. I'll just do this drug on a certain day. And then you say, okay, that benefited me. It was good for me. Or I end up falling down every time. You know what I mean? And I
yeah.
just like that substance. It's like I've determined my reaction is negative.
But that is subjective because
It
it's not
is.
inherently an addictive chemical, so it
It
depends on
is.
the user. Um,
Exactly. And all that matters is that people are. I was locked in a box of drug addiction where drugs that were bad for me were in my life so much. And people would promote the idea of quitting forever. And nobody really just came at me and said, like, logically, like, taking a break is sometimes a good thing with anything, and like seeing who you are with it, without it. I think it would have been easier to really evaluate if I was given that angle rather than this is bad for everybody. It's got to be bad for you. Don't ever touch it again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
what I care about when I talk to someone is their well being with or without a drug. It doesn't matter. I just want them to be happy and well and feel good. So that's like I know what substances I react good to and what I don't, which one I can control and which one I can't. And honestly, it's like the psychedelic category is just the safest for me.
All right. Cool. Uh, all right. So switching gears now, because we've been on this for a long time. So improv comedy. What kind of music do you like?
I like um I like Justin Bieber, the
Okay.
Backstreet Boys,
All right.
Justin Timberlake, the essentials. I'm just I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if you were joking or not. I didn't want to ask though because I might be offended then, and I didn't want to do that
I'm
to you. To
glad
be
you
like,
couldn't tell I
what
was
you gonna
joking
call
or not.
music? Like, I was just talking about like how like people like label me for like liking 3 Days Grace and certainly didn't want to reciprocate that to you.
Funny. That's so funny. Oh,
But
I like underground independent rap artists. I like Hobson, Jaron Benton, Snow the Product. That's like really it. I don't really listen to many different people. I don't like Tech Nine. I like the old Eminem.
you don't like Tech Nine?
Nah, it's his
Interesting.
voice, man. It's like I just don't like it. It's weird.
See,
It's like,
that's how I feel about Kendrick Lamar. Like I just can't get over his
oh,
voice.
be careful, man. You're gonna
If
get
he
a
had a
hate mark.
better voice, I'm sure I'd be able to listen. But that's one thing, like in a genre like rap, voice, because vocals aren't everything to me in most genres. But rap is one of those ones where it's like the rapper does kind of need to have a place, in
I
order to,
agree.
and just
I
keep
agree.
logic and all that stuff is just
You say you don't
not my
like
cup.
Kendrick I don't like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, and I tell people that, and I've almost been shot twice over it.
Well,
I,
there's certain rappers like they're not allowed to dislike. Like if you say,
yeah, it's so funny,
Tupac sucked
right?
or
Yeah.
sucked or whatever, it's like that's blasphemy. You might as well say the N word. You're not allowed. You can't say that. You know.
Yeah, I felt that way. I don't like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar. I don't like East Coast flow with J. Cole. I think it's boring, and I honestly I got Good Kid, Mad City, and at the end of it, I was like, that's it. I thought he was talented. I think they're both amazingly talented and great rappers. It's like though they're not my flavor. It's like you could say this is great ice cream, but it's just not my flavor of ice cream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
not
all right. So
everybody likes a certain type of candy.
yeah. All right. So let's see. Rap music. Yeah, I like Eminem up till 2016. Um, I don't mean I was a fan of Eminem till 2016. I mean I actively like everything he did up until 2016, and then from there it's very select. It's slim pickings after that. But let's see. For rap, yeah, I like some semi underground, like well known, like they have a fan base, but they're not like household names, like Flowbots, Doomtree, Zillakami. I'm not gonna say I like him, and same thing with Earl Sweatshirt, but they're just kind of like I respect that they're different. Um, and let's see, Hollywood Undead is a personal favorite group of mine. um, for hip hop, and let's see what else. Dr. Octagon, dude. Have you ever listened to Dr. Octagon?
No.
You gotta
Sounds
listen
like
to
a
Dr.
porno.
Octagon. He makes no Dr. Octagon. He makes sci-fi rap music.
Oh.
Some of his more famous songs include Earth People, Blue Flowers, 3000, all the half shark alligator, half man, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
I might have to check this
but
out.
yeah,
I listen to
yeah,
so few rappers that I feel like I'm cheating on one if I listen to another, so I really do. And it's like
yeah,
whenever
like
I heard NF and I was like, this guy's good, but I was like, I don't have time for another relationship in my life. So I only listen to like Snow the Product now, but I don't like her new stuff that much. She's kind of like cheating on me by switching her style, so I might move on with another rap friend.
are you Are you like one of these people that have like brand loyalties where it's like either Coca-Cola or Pepsi,
Yes.
Marvel or Disney or Universal, like,
Yes.
that kind of stuff?
I feel like
All
I'm
right, so
cheating if I get anything out. Yeah, I'm too loyal.
Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which one?
Coke.
Oh, I
Pepsi
thought you were gonna
loses its fizz. Crystal Pepsi was the shit though, but they didn't bring that back for long enough.
say that just sounds dangerous, yeah.
I like Crystal Pepsi more than Coke or Pepsi. If they had a baby and Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper had a baby and those two babies fucked, it still wouldn't be as good as Crystal Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in a league of its own. You know what I say? Screw all the name brands. I'm going with Faygo. Faygo is the world's greatest soft drink. You know about Faygo?
Dude, that's like saying taco. That's like saying the best tacos in the world are made at Jack in the Box.
But okay, so you know what
You realize
Faygo
what
is.
you're saying, man? I know what it is.
Have you tried Faygo?
I don't know, man. I don't really think I've actually paid attention enough to it.
Well,
Am I
Faygo,
missing out?
Faygo isn't just for juggalos, Faygo is for soda enthusiasts. Faygo is the official soda of the Cool Kids Club. It is the it is the ideal drink. Oh man, it's the greatest non-alcoholic beverage besides water to ever exist, and it comes in over 150 flavors, and they
I
ship all
like
around the country.
I like water. It's important.
Yeah, dude, no, seriously, I got my cup of water right here. I only ever drink water when I'm at my house, except like if there's something at a store that really catches my eye. Like a while back, I saw caramel apple and pumpkin spice sparkling cider, so we got some of that. Um, but for the most part, I only ever drink water here. And like when we go out, like I used to be a soda fiend, man. I used to go because I live in Florida, so it's close to like Orlando and stuff, like 2 hours away. So I'd go to like Universal Orlando has this Coca-Cola Freestyle cup. It's like $12 or whatever, and six for the second one, like for the day. And they had these freestyle locations all around the park with 100 plus flavor combinations. And it's a 20-ounce cup, and you get unlimited refills every 10 minutes that the park's open. So 20 ounces. I mean, considering that there's 72 grams of sugar in a 16-ounce bottle of Sprites, I can only imagine how many grams of sugar are in over a gallon of miscellaneous soda parentheses S. You know,
Mm,
'Cause
I love
we
soda.
get like eight refills each of that, so that's like what 160 ounces. That's well over a gallon.
I love soda.
So I was an absolute, but I had to give it up. I gave up soda around the same time I gave up candy because it's just like, it's just not worth it. Like it's fun for like 5 seconds, and then it's just a regret ever since. But Fago is still one thing I drink to this day. It's not really very readily accessible in Florida, so I don't get tempted with it very often. But I have Fago maybe like once every 2 or 3 months. But it is the best.
Have you
Uh,
ever ate a 5 pound bag of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears?
Haribo. I'm pretty sure I have tried Haribo at some point. I'm not sure about 5 pounds. I've eaten an entire large two topping pizza many a time though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. It'd be pretty cool if you did.
I've had entire cereal. What else? I have like entire cans of soup where there's like 6 servings. I have had a tendency to overindulge on food, which is why I kind of had to put the brakes on all that. Now I keep myself to one meal and one snack per day, and that's it. That's all I allow my. But I just used to just constantly be stuffing my face with this, that, the other thing, candy, soda, pastries, just desserts, just anything I could get my hand on. And I still love that stuff, but I appreciate it even more now because it's rarer for me,
I did
because
I
it's
did
like,
the carnivore diet once. Have you heard of
well,
that?
the carnivore diet, that just
Yeah.
sounds like an that just sounds like a counterculture thing that doesn't sound like an actual scientifically merited.
I only
Um,
ate beef, salt, and water for a month. It was horrible.
Very good. But
Uh,
um, but
I was
but
trying
back
to get eliminate everything from the diet. I was trying to get down to one thing. And then I guess vegans hate me. I mean, it makes sense, right?
well, I'm a vegetarian. I don't hate you, man. I mean,
Thank God. All
I'm
right,
the
I'm glad. I forgot
I'm
you're a
the only
vegetarian.
person. I'm the only person like in my whole personal and social life that is vegetarian. Every single other person in my family, my household, my circle of friends, my acquaintances, everything, are all meat eaters, and I'm totally fine with that. It's not like I'm not one of those people that like can't be in the same room as a steak or chicken or something like that. Like my reasons for being vegetarian are totally different than 99% of vegetarians. My goal is to eventually go full vegan, but it's just real hard for me. It's hard for me to give up all cheese and butter and ice cream, and
Eggs,
it's that's infinitely tougher than meat,
eggs.
because giving up meat was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, it's like
I
it
was able to do
sucks.
that.
It sucks when someone doesn't tell you you're a vegan. One time I went out to dinner with a vegan. I didn't know that he was
Yeah.
vegan, and I ordered a camel burger,
You
and I
took
felt
you
so
took them to like Outback or Texas Roadhouse or
something like that.
Longhorn.
Yeah, and I ordered a camel burger. So I ate a camel in front of him. I felt so bad because I was so hyped about getting camel. I was like, I want flesh. First, I was like, I want camel with
Like we
flesh of
talked about
yeah.
it the whole day.
Literally, how I ordered in front of the vegan was I want camel with a little flesh of the swine on top of it. And so,
Flesh of the swine.
yeah. And then like grated milk on top of that. So like cheese. And then I like ordered it in such a heathenistic way. And then he told me later he was vegan. I was like, oh, I feel so bad. So if you're
Oh,
vegan,
by the way, yeah.
yeah, people should tell people they're vegan before they go out to eat or something. I don't
Well,
know. Just one of those really bad
because the thing,
experience.
it's a common joke like that I've heard many times on the internet and such. How can you tell if someone's a vegan? They'll tell you, like that kind of thing. Like it's a stereotype because like vegans love to brag about how they're vegan and everything, but that's not always the experience.
Good that they tell
I
people.
mean, those are the only reason people think that is because those are the vocal ones. So those are the
Right,
like the
yeah.
loudest voices that are most.
If I
But
eat
if
out
you're
with a
quiet
known
about,
vegan, yeah, if I eat out with a known vegan, I eat vegan out of respect.
yeah.
I said if they tell me they're vegan ahead of time, I get vegan cheese.
No,
And vegan food is dope as hell. I'm glad I have my vegan friends. I might have never tried vegan food if it weren't for my vegan friends.
the Impossible Whopper at Burger King is lit.
Yeah, vegan food is
It's on
better than normal
on it.
people food. Y'all have it figured out. I went to a vegan
Yeah,
restaurant. I was
I
like, these are
love
the best nachos I've ever had in my life.
yeah, I mean, like my dad, who is like a notorious carnivore and just loves all things meat related. Even he like prefers veggie burgers to regular steak burgers, and that's like surprising. And we buy like I have in my fridge right now, I got vegetarian bacon, vegetarian sausage, vegetarian. I have like vegetarian breakfast sandwiches with like imitation sausage, chicken, cheese, and everything. And he charges every single one of these things is better than the thing it's imitating. It's like that's
Yeah.
that's just great. There's a few though. I don't really care for the steak strips because I'm talking about Morningstar Farms and Guardian specifically are the two brands that I buy, and I don't really care for the steak strips, or I think like the fish thing wasn't very good. But yeah, most of it's so yeah, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
For sure,
But I
man.
stopped. I stopped. I stopped craving meat about maybe 5 years ago. Anyway, like I legitimately just don't crave any like animals. I don't know. It's just I
Yeah.
would eat though. I saw one deep fried butter at the state fair in my state, and I was gonna buy it, but it was toward the end of the day, so we had just run out of money and everything because it's cash only at a lot of the stands, so you only bring so much cash. But I went back this year, special made a 3 hour drive across the state, to Tampa to go to the fair because that's the only place for this deep fried butter, and it wasn't there this year. But I was willing to get it. But I would definitely try deep fried butter.
I want deep fried butter. Well,
I used to eat out of garbage cans, man. I told a story on here one time about how before I was vegetarian, I ate a McDonald's hamburger because you know how they have those coupons for $1 where you get 12 coupons, free hamburger, free apple slices. Back in those days, it was free apple dippers though. They gave you caramel dip and free apple juice or milk jug and free cone. And I think there was fries at one point too. Do you remember that?
yeah.
Yeah, so we used to go and get the and cash them in. I'd redeem the free hamburger, and one time I accidentally dropped it into the garbage can while I was walking on my way to the temple, like on the way to the table. Because it's so funny, like it could have fallen on the floor, but it dropped like right as my arm was hovering over the garbage can. So like just that fraction of a second, that's when it fell bottom of the garbage can. Fast food garbage is some of the most disgusting, vile things you'll ever encounter in this world. And there's just all this ungodly stuff in there. And I was so determined to eat this burger because I didn't need any of it yet. By this point, I had just unwrapped it, and so I dug through. I tipped the garbage can sideways and just went full raccoon on it. I just dug through everything. I like leaned in and got in there. Like half of my back was in there, and I was just like going and I ate the whole thing, man. It was unwrapped and everything, just exposed in this garbage can and
Jesus.
at the bottom. And I ate the hamburger. So yeah, I definitely like I have a history of eating expired food, moldy food. Like we take cheese and like just cut the mold off and eat the rest and stuff like that. Like, but we found out later we didn't get them all. It's kind of the same thing as like accidentally leaving some of the wrapper on the candy. Like there's some candies like Laffy Taffy and Now and Laters and even Jolly Ranchers sometimes where it's just like there's like little tiny pieces of the wrapper that stay on, and you don't notice it till it's too late.
I hate when that
Yeah,
happens.
disgusting stuff. But wow, now we crossed off food because that was going to be another thing I wanted to talk about. So now we got that covered. But back to music though. Besides rap music, are there any other genres you listen to?
I like all music.
All music, really.
Yeah, my friend has a
A lot of
song, and
people.
I don't know what the song is, but it's kind of like her theme song. So when I hear it, I think about her. So sometimes music is tied into my memories of people, and I like it for that because I like this
Oh
person.
yeah. For me, yeah, it's not necessarily. It's usually places for me instead of people. Yeah, it's usually places. Like whenever Yeah, like whenever I hear like it's different artists. Like for me, whenever I hear Elliott Smith, which is by far my favorite acoustic artist and one of my favorite musicians of all time, I'm immediately reminded of this trip I took to Tennessee about 3 years, 2.5 years ago, um, and to with the extended family and such, and this and I went up to the top of this mountain with a friend of mine who was there, and it was like is this surreal experience. It was like 3 a.m. as it always is when I'm doing stuff, and it was just like we were just at the top of this mountain because I live in Florida, which is the flattest state in the United States. There's no mountains here. The closest thing to a mountain you'll find here is the landfill. That's about it.
They have gators in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you something, man.
You ever eat a gator burger?
You can't even cross the street without encountering an alligator. No, I've seen maybe like 2 alligators my entire lifetime. That's way overhyped. You're very unlikely to encounter an alligator in Florida, like outside of a
I want a
cage,
pet. I want a pet gator.
I'm pretty sure some people have pet alligators. I mean, there's that only in Florida stuff too, which is like I think Florida's more boring than anything. So I think that kind of stuff, like the only in Florida stuff, is more like Missouri and Kentucky and like that area. There's people with that kind of stuff, but down here it's pretty boring. It's just a bunch of old people and golf courses and stuff. But yeah, some dude threw an
You guys
alligator.
have open beaches.
Drive through.
You have open beaches.
Open beaches, yeah. Well, it's a peninsula, so we got beaches. So
you guys legalized going outside. I heard that like yesterday. I miss when places were legal.
And I don't even know. I'm so out of touch. You know more about my state news than I do, man.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspaper. I don't like. Yeah, I don't. I'm very.
Do you remember that?
Touch.
Do you remember? Do you remember places?
Do I remember places?
Yeah, when going outside was legal, and like places were legal.
Yeah, remember when like
now it's like everything is everything's closed because everything is illegal. It's like so sad. It's like legalized places. It's
like do you
if you're not gonna legalize weed, at least legalize like a restaurant, or legalize the beach, or legalize the parks.
Legalize an edibles restaurant, yeah.
I mean, nothing is legal now. We can't even go out to the park in Texas. It's illegal. Sad.
Dude, I'm gonna hit you with some mad nostalgia right now. Remember way back in the day, like remember, it's so foggy now, but at the time, remember like when there was more to the world than your house? Like, you remember that? It was crazy, man. It was like overwhelming. Like when I think about it now, it's like, whoa. How could that be? Like,
I know. The day that there was more to the world than our house. Like, I remember when I used to go to the gym. Like, that's weird now. I've been quarantined so long.
Actually, my brother has like a full scale. Well, not full scale. Our house
isn't, you remember going to get your driver's license and like there's people there and it's like a place. Like, I've been inside so long. I'm starting to feel like a fish in water. I feel like I've been underwater for so long that like when I leave my environment, it's gonna be like a fish being pulled out of the water. I'm gonna be like, holy shit, there's a world out here. Like my water is like the bowl is like my small condo is my water bowl, and I'm like Nemo, and I'm trying to find Nemo at the same time. I'm like looking within myself for this fish. I'm looking within myself for Nemo, and then I'm like. You're in there, little guy.
Yeah, and it's like the fish is in the water, but there's also water in the fish. So it's just looking for itself, and it's swimming through. It's like cannibalism when you think about it.
Fish are made of water, and they live in water.
Exactly. It's
fish the ocean. Like, I'm confused.
I
I gotta get going. I gotta get going. I have to get going. I have something I have to do, but it was definitely good being on here with you, man.
Oh, man, what? I have so many more questions.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, it's like 2:10 where I am.
So what? Is it like your bedtime then or something?
No, I have someone over. And
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have asked to reschedule it, I guess. More time, but
Yeah, I just gotta get going, but I'll message you, man.
All right, yeah, maybe we can make a part 2 sometime in the audience.
Yeah, that'd be dope. All right, man, take care. Stay out of trouble, all right?
Okay. All right, to be continued.
Peace out.
Peace out.